is 2013, and I am a freshman in college. I live on campus with one roommate in the girls' dorm, so everything is pretty chill first semester, typical college dorm things. Well, our room had actually not been used in a very long time, if ever. It was used as a showroom, but our freshman class was so big that they had to convert it into an actual living space. The Wi-Fi didn't even work in there, so I spent many nights in the laundry room across the hall scrambling to finish forgotten homework due at midnight. Anyway, we leave for Christmas break and come back January 2014. My roommate had gotten there about 30 minutes before me and had left her stuff on the bed with the door locked while she went to go say hey to some other girls down the hall. I got there, unlocked the door, and promptly discovered somebody had trashed our room. Her suitcases were flung everywhere, my drawers were opened, our beds weren't made anymore, and even the ceiling tiles were moved out of place. One had even fallen down on my bed. So I call my roommate and tell her it's totally not cool to trash the room. And she is subsequently very confused. She comes back and is just as confused as I am, saying she had only been in the room to drop off her bags, and then she had left. Well, we ask the RA, and she says nobody could have possibly gotten into our room and blah blah blah. Okay, fine, whatever. So as the semester goes on, things take a turn for the freaky. It started out as small things, like noises in the middle of the night coming from different corners of the room. But it's a college dorm. There's bound to be noises. But from inside the room? Strange, but explainable. Then, about 2 weeks later, we are both dead asleep at about 2 a.m. The dorm is quiet. It's a Christian college, lights out at curfew. And I am startled awake by something being flung across the room. My roommate wakes up, wondering why I had chosen this particular time to throw crap around our room. So I promptly turn on the light. Just to give you a visual, our room was rectangular in shape. Our beds were arranged to make an L shape. Her bed was parallel to the top portion of the room, so one side of her bed was against the wall. Our mini fridge was against the wall between our beds. My bed is against the long wall. There was open space in the middle and a built-in desk flanked on either side by small closets, more like shelves. Above my roommate's bed, there was a shelf, and on the shelf was a stuffed animal, a Febreze odor spray thing that ran out of batteries. It had been out since the first week of school, and a plastic cup with the school logo on it. Well, upon inspection, we discovered what was flung. It was the odor spray thing from the top shelf. Odd, since it had been there since the first week of school, the semester before, and never been knocked off. We assumed it was some sort of air conditioning malfunction, even though nothing else had moved, and there weren't any vents near the shelf, and that, logically, there would have had to have been substantial force for that thing to fly across the room and land on the floor at the end of my bed, which is a good 7 to 8 feet. So we go back to bed. For the next couple of months, this thing periodically flies off the shelf. I also noticed that during this time, my roommate started acting sort of strange. She was tired and moody and didn't seem like herself. One night, I woke up with this awful feeling of dread. I noticed something moving out of the corner of my eye in the darkest corner of the room by the door. I turned my head to see a little better, thinking maybe it was my roommate. It was not my roommate. It was like a shadow, but solid, just hunched next to the door like it was about to pounce. It rocked back and forth on its feet a little, like a person trying to keep their balance, ready to spring. I kept my eyes on it and called out to my roommate. It stopped teetering when I spoke, but was still there. It was watching me, and I could feel it. It took about 3 times of saying my roommate's name for her to respond. I think there's... I didn't know how to explain what I was looking at. She sleeps facing the wall every night, so I knew she wasn't looking at the thing. Then she whispered, "Do you see it?" My blood ran cold. I assumed it was a trick of the light, but I had woken her for confirmation that I was just seeing things. But instead, she stayed facing the wall, refusing to roll over. I sagged up and looked away from the thing hunched in the corner and turned my lamp on top of the mini fridge on. I looked back, and it was gone. My roommate finally sat up and turned to look at me. She proceeds to tell me that she had been seeing it most nights after I fell asleep, since the first time the spray thing had been flung across the room. She generally stayed up a bit later than me, as she was a nursing major and had tons of homework to get done. I was normally asleep by 10. She had been seeing this thing for months and said nothing. After that incident, I had the idea to keep a small light on the nightstand and use my laptop to film whatever was going on, specifically how the spray thing was getting flung across the room. Coincidentally, the incident stopped any night we decided to film. However, there was one night my roommate woke me up from her bed, telling me she could hear the spray thing scraping across the shelf, about to be flung. So I sat up and was messing with my phone, not facing her bed. She was standing at the desk, turning on the laptop to start filming, also not facing her bed. We both heard a thud and looked at each other, and then turned around to see the spray thing sitting positioned perfectly on her bed, with the light flashing on it, despite it not having any batteries. We calmed down and started the laptop and went back to bed after putting the air thing back on the shelf, assuming all would be well since we were taping. We didn't wake up again that night. The next morning, I woke up to find my laptop in a different position than I had left it. We went back through the video, and I saw that over the span of 10 minutes, the laptop had mysteriously rotated towards the wall, making our beds out of view. I then proceeded to go to my boyfriend at the time, who was an engineering major, to show him this proof I had that something was happening. He had been rather skeptical, only believing that we believed something was happening and that we were scared. When I went to open the video, it played 2 minutes, and then the rest was gone. All the video but the first 2 minutes, gone. It showed us turning on the video, getting into bed, turning the lights off, my roommate rolling over and putting music, which she had apparently been doing since the beginning, to block out the noises the thing in the corner made when it moved. Me setting my alarm and rolling over to face the wall, and then nothing. I was very distraught, and in order to please me, my boyfriend came to my dorm room on open house, which was conveniently that night, with another of our engineering friends. They spent the entirety of the allotted time trying to replicate how the spray thing might have ended up on the other side of the room, and also sitting perfectly in the center of my roommate's bed. They couldn't figure out how that would happen, and insisted we must be missing something. This carried on for the entire semester. We didn't tell anybody else about the strange happenings, but still, our friends felt uncomfortable when we left them alone in our room while hanging out. Finally, the semester ended and we went home for the summer. The spray thing sat happily on my shelf in the bedroom at home, with no problems, completely forgotten. I lived with my same roommate the next semester, eager to see her after summer break, only to discover that she was not quite the same person after our experience in the freshman dorm. She did not sleep. I didn't notice at first, but after a couple of weeks, I picked up on the fact that she could not sleep. She looked tired and stressed, and maybe a little sick. Her grandma finally convinced her to see a doctor, who told her she was suffering from insomnia induced by the stress of college. But we both knew why she couldn't sleep. What happened in that dorm during that semester ended our friendship. It changed her so completely that she was not the same person that I had forged a friendship with at the beginning of our time in college. I always ended this story, to the few people I've told, with the conclusion that everything that happened could have all been in our heads, or there could have very well been a logical explanation for what happened. But I have yet to find it. We soon parted ways, but I was recently informed from a mutual friend still at that college that she suffers from anxiety whenever it's dark.